The church was filled with golden light, the air scented faintly of lilies, and every pew lined with smiling faces eager to witness what was supposed to be the happiest day of two lives entwining. But as the bride walked gracefully down the aisle, her heart pounding with hope and love, she had no idea that the man waiting at the altar was planning something cruel, something that would test the very essence of her dignity. The whispers of joy would soon turn into gasps of disbelief, and a single woman's strength would turn humiliation into a lesson so powerful that no one who witnessed it would ever forget. Backhand index pointing. Right before we dive deeper into this unforgettable story, if you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in the power of standing up for yourself, please like this video, subscribe to Kindness Tales, and share it with someone who could use a reminder that strength often blooms in the darkest of moments. Also, let us know in the comments what kindness means to you. The bride's name was Claire. She was radiant that day, her lace gown glistening softly under the sunlight streaming through stained glass windows. For months she had poured her heart into making the day special, not just for herself but for her fiancé, Ryan, the man she had loved for years. Ryan had always been confident, perhaps overly so, but Claire had seen in him a charm and drive that made her believe he was someone worth building a life with. She overlooked his arrogance, excused the little comments he made that sometimes stung, telling herself he was just playful. Love has a way of covering cracks until the foundation is tested. As Claire reached the altar, Ryan took her hands, but instead of the tender smile she expected, his lips curled into a smirk. The priest began the ceremony, the words washing over the crowd, but Ryan seemed distracted, almost eager for something. And then, just as the vows were about to be exchanged, Ryan raised his hand and stopped the proceedings. Murmurs filled the room. He looked at Claire, his voice steady but sharp enough to cut the silence. "Before I marry this woman, there's something everyone here should know." The color drained from Claire's face. The guests leaned forward in confusion, the joy in their expressions faltering. Ryan pulled a folded piece of paper from his pocket. With deliberate movements, he began to read aloud, listing petty grievances, mocking stories from their past, moments where Claire had stumbled or been vulnerable. He twisted private memories into cruel jokes, painting her as clumsy, naive, even unworthy. The crowd sat frozen, some horrified, others awkwardly laughing at his audacity. He claimed it was all in good fun, that marriage should begin with honesty, but the intent was clear. He wanted to humiliate her, to assert control, to show that he had the upper hand on the day meant to honor them both. Tears burned at the corners of Claire's eyes, but she did not let them fall. Her mind raced, her heart ached, but somewhere deep inside, a flame of strength flickered. She thought of all the times she had stayed quiet when he belittled her in front of friends, all the moments she had let slide because she thought love meant enduring. But in that instant, in front of everyone she loved, Claire realized that love without respect was nothing more than a cage. She took a deep breath, her trembling hands steadying as she reached for the microphone from the priest. The church was so quiet now that even the rustle of her gown echoed. Her voice, though soft at first, carried with a clarity that silenced even the restless shuffling in the pews. "Ryan," she began, her eyes locked on his, "I loved you with all my heart. I believed in us. I believed that even with your flaws, we could build something beautiful. But what you just did wasn't love. It wasn't honesty. It was cruelty dressed up as humor, and it tells me more than I ever wanted to know about the man standing before me." The crowd stirred, emotions rippling across their faces. Claire lifted her chin, the strength in her posture undeniable. Marriage is not about power or humiliation. It's about respect, kindness, and lifting each other up. If this is how you choose to begin, then I choose not to continue. And with that, she gently removed the ring from her finger and placed it on the altar. The silence was deafening. Ryan's smirk faltered, his confidence crumbling as he realized the tide had turned. For the first time, it was not Claire standing small in his shadow, it was Ryan, exposed before everyone as the man who had tried to tear someone down on the most sacred day of their life. Claire turned to the guests, her eyes glistening but her spirit unbroken. I'm sorry to disappoint you all, but I will not marry a man who finds joy in shaming me. I deserve better. And so does every person who has ever been made to feel small by someone they love." The crowd erupted, not in laughter, but in applause. It was hesitant at first, then stronger, a wave of support rising to embrace her. Her parents stood, their faces filled with pride rather than sorrow. Friends rushed to her side, holding her, reminding her she was not alone. Ryan, red-faced and humiliated, tried to defend himself, muttering that it was just a joke, that she was overreacting. But no one was listening anymore. His cruel performance had backfired spectacularly, and the lesson was one he would carry for the rest of his life, that respect cannot be demanded through mockery, and love cannot survive where kindness is absent. The wedding that ended before it began became the talk of the town. Some gossiped, others criticized, but many admired Claire for her courage. Instead of walking down the aisle as a bride, she walked out of the church as something far greater, a woman who refused to be broken, who chose dignity over deceit. In the days that followed, Claire's world was not without pain. There were moments when the silence of her apartment felt heavy, when she replayed the humiliation in her mind. But each time, she reminded herself that she had taken control of her story. She had stopped a cycle before it could define her life. And slowly, that pain transformed into power. Months later, Claire found herself volunteering at a community center, speaking to young women about confidence, respect, and recognizing their worth. Her story inspired others, giving them courage to walk away from relationships that hurt more than they healed. She became a voice for kindness, for strength, for the belief that no one deserves to be shamed for simply being human. And as for Ryan, the man who once stood so tall, his reputation followed him like a shadow. People remembered not his charm, but his cruelty. No matter how he tried to spin the story, the truth remained: he had tried to shame his bride, but in doing so, he had only exposed himself. Years later, when Claire looked back on that day, she no longer saw it as the worst moment of her life. Instead, she saw it as the moment she discovered her own strength, the day she taught not just Ryan, but everyone present, a lesson they would never forget. A lesson that kindness and respect are the true foundations of love, and without them, even the grandest ceremony means nothing. Backhand index pointing right. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, subscribe to Kindness Tales, and share it with someone who might need courage today. Stories like this remind us of the strength within us all, and your support helps us spread that light further. Before you go, comment below, what does true respect in a relationship mean to you? We'd love to hear your thoughts. And so, Claire's story lives on, not as a tale of heartbreak, but as a timeless reminder: sometimes the greatest lesson we teach others is through the strength we find in ourselves.